Hi, John.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
How are you?
Good.
I'm great. If you guys don't know, this is Aaron and Tricia Gorsuch. They've been kind of a part of WestWay for a while in non-normal ways. I think would probably be the best way to describe that. Aaron has been connected to Summit Christian College. He's going to talk a little bit more about that here in a couple minutes. Aaron's been connected to Summit Christian College for the past several years, recent graduate from there.
Yep.
Trish has been connected to WestWay through a Wednesday night small group here in the building and in other ways. They've been a part of the body for probably the last 8 months, 8 to 10 months, something like that.
Yeah, 8 months.
And I'm talking with them today because they are leaving our Scottsbluff community. They're leaving the Summit Christian College community. They're leaving the WestWay community, sort of, to go on mission, to go somewhere else. And as a church body, we are going to be not just financially supporting them, but supporting them in the work that they're going to be doing. So we wanted to just take a few minutes of time and give you the opportunity to get to know them a little bit, and then to hear about how we can continue to support them in what they're going to be doing. So before we get to that, why don't you guys just share a little bit just give us a little bit of a background of who you are, what your story is.
Yep. It started, 8 years ago now. Felt called to go into ministry. Wasn't sure exactly how or where it was going to look like, but I knew where life was going and what I was supposed to be doing. 5 years ago, after serving with the youth group in Delta Christian in Delta, Colorado, Dave Parrish showed up and knew that we were supposed to move to Gering and that I was supposed to attend Summit Christian College.
So how old were you when this happened?
I was 47 years old.
Okay, so Aaron, when Aaron went into ministry, he was older than I was when I went into ministry.
Yeah.
I was 33 when I went through that experience.
Yep.
So it is, I think, it's never too late to go into ministry. Okay,
No,
so
I agree.
so 47, Dave comes to Delta, Colorado, and says, "Hey, you should move
here's-
to Summit Christian College."
Yep, that's to summarize it. Yeah, that's exactly
awesome.
what happened. That was in March. We visited in April, and moved July. This last weekend, it was exactly 5 years ago that we rolled into town.
Mm-hmm.
So, and 5 years in a week, we roll out.
Okay, so you went to classes, graduated from Summit Christian
Yeah.
College.
Yep, graduated a year ago last May from college, which is my bachelor's degree in biblical studies.
Sure. And what have you been doing since graduation? What have you been doing?
Since graduation, it took a few months, kind of figured out wasn't really figuring out, it was learning where I'm supposed to go and what I was supposed to be doing for sure. Again, I met Dave Parrish a year ago, August. Met with, didn't meet, but met with. And we talked about missions. We felt, Trish and I were really feeling the call to missions, but didn't know how it would look, who would we talk to, and so forth. So when I called Dave and asked him to meet me for coffee, we talked about different organizations and how it would look at our age to go into missions and things we could do with, obviously our skill set that we've developed over the years, but specifically our calling and where God is leading us, what that would look like.
Yeah. And you've been the recruiter at Summit for the past how long?
Yeah, so then at that coffee, he laid things out, told me what to do, but he said specifically, if you're gonna do that, you should come to work at Summit as a recruiter. So I started at the end of September, last fall as a recruiter, and developing relationships with different people in different aspects, and that led to meeting Jeff Klein at American Indian Christian Mission.
Okay. So while you were waiting for maybe a more guided, directed sense of
Yep.
where you were going to end up in vocational ministry, you were faithful to what God was calling you to do, and you were doing ministry at Summit Christian College.
Yes. So I was doing ministry at Summit.
So you weren't waiting till the right opportunity came along. I'm going somewhere with this.
Yep.
You weren't waiting until the right opportunity came along to do ministry. Like
Correct.
you were
not.
You were in ministry.
Yeah, we were in ministry. So I was, working at the college, recruiting, a lot of ministry involved with that. You may not think so off the top of your head. I didn't realize how much ministry,
Sure.
encouraging people, and speaking and preaching, and those opportunities that came with that. And also, I was involved with a local ministry here, 5-2 ministry. I think you're familiar with that.
Yep.
With Luke. So I was helping with that, have been since last summer, and continue to do so up until about a month ago. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So Trish, so obviously you came out with Aaron. What have you been doing in your time here in Scottsbluff while Aaron's been in school, and what does that whole thing look like for you?
So when we came, I was a teacher. I taught for 22 years, including my time teaching here in Scottsbluff. I have a background before teaching, working with teenage girls in psychiatric treatment, residential. So they lived there, and I worked with them. And then just God worked on my heart and moved me into teaching, and I did that for 22 years. The last 3 years was here in Scottsbluff, and I loved it. But God, again, worked and moved me out of teaching. It was the right thing. It was a little painful in a lot of ways, but it was the right thing. And I ended up becoming the manager of the youth shelter for Capwin.
Okay.
And so I have now, again, been working the last 2 years with teenage boys and girls, adolescent boys and girls, in a residential setting. And not knowing that was, God was preparing us for this next step at American Indian Christian Mission.
Yeah, I think that's such an important aspect in the lives of us as Christians. We sort of talked about this past Sunday, like how the things and the situations and the circumstances of just our regular lives are not just random things, but God when we are open to it, God is what we're doing now, God is utilizing not only now in recruiting and working with kids at the shelter and making a difference and being a light in the lives of other people, but it's also if we can wrap our minds around it, it can be prep work for what God is going to do in the future.
Yeah, when we look back, when this journey started, you can say it started when Dave came, but it started before that. For
Sure.
me, I was kind of a mess. Made that decision to really surrender my life to Christ and really make Him my Lord, and be obedient. Being with Christ as your Lord, it means total submission and just going where He is leading me and following.
Yeah.
And
so you're probably at the place where you can both look back and say, oh yeah, this kind of makes sense.
Gosh.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
Obviously when we're in the middle of all of those things, it's hard to do that.
Yep.
Hindsight being 20/20, that phrase. But I know I can look back in my life and see where
Yeah.
I've ended up and be like, oh yeah, like that makes sense. Like
Yep.
I can see how
Yeah.
all of those things kind of came together.
I feel like when I was young, it was difficult, but I do honestly feel like at this point in my life and having gone through enough unexpected changes and what is this happening, that even in the middle of it, and I also had, I was very fortunate with my parents having a strong relationship and growing up and just knowing that my dad was constantly praying, and he gave me a lot of guidance and a lot of role modeling, that even in the middle of it, and we've talked about it, at different times, that I don't know what is happening, but knowing that God has it. He promises that he will always use it for good. And so I think that has been important for me, is just even in the middle of this may be painful, and I feel like when God is changing my heart, it's not an easy process, and it is painful, and it's not that it's all, sunshine and flowers going through it, but knowing that God has it and he's going to use it for good, I just have to remember to keep my focus on that as I'm going through it. So
if we fast forward to so each year, Summit Christian College during spring break goes on some kind of mission trip.
Yep. So for the past 3 years, I've been blessed enough to be able to lead the mission trip, co-lead it with Kayleen Colopy, who works at the college. Students for the past 3 years have picked where they wanted to go on the mission trip. So this last spring, they chose to return to Ensenada, where they'd gone the year before.
And that's Mexico.
In Mexico. Had a fantastic trip. It really changed a lot of hearts. God did some amazing things in the students, and they wanted to go back. As a student body, they voted and chose to go back to Ensenada, and God had other plans. We only had 3 students actually sign up, and we needed 7 to actually make the trip happen, and needed to pay for 10. So we obviously didn't have enough. So talking to Scott Gribble, the dean, weren't sure that we were going to do a trip. We're going to wait till after ICOM to tell the students, at that point we not going to do anything, because we don't have any place to go. So with Summit, part of my job recruiting, was to go to ICOM. So
The ICOM is the International Conference on Missions. So it's a not just a nationwide. It's not just an American thing, but that's why it's the international. That's the I. It is the International Conference on Missions. I is for international, so it is international. So missionaries and Bible colleges and mission organizations from internationally, all over the world, come and have this conference on missions. Come and participate in this conference on missions.
Yeah. So we were there. So I went there with 2 objectives. One, obviously to talk to potential students, and then the second was to find a place to take our students. It just didn't feel right to me, even having 3 students, that we would not do something.
Sure.
So sitting at our booth, Summit booth, and this gentleman came up. He was out stretching his legs, visiting other booths, and introduced himself as the director of the mission. And we started talking, and found out it was in Sholo, Arizona, and asked him if they did short-term mission trips, and he said absolutely. And I said, great, I'll be by later this afternoon to talk to you.
So you went and talked to him, arranged the trip?
Yep. So I went and talked to him, got some information about the trip. He looked at the calendar, saw that the dates were open, gathered up a bunch of pamphlets he had there, and told him that I would be back in touch, have to talk to Scott about it, and be back in touch. And in that pamphlet stuff that he had was some employment information. He was there looking for employees,
Yeah.
people to serve at the mission. So it was intriguing, put it to you that way. So that was at the first part of November, and so came back to Gering and got the permission to go ahead with the mission trip there. Started planning that, and in the planning, lots of phone calls and conversations with Jeff. And I brought the stuff back and started to talk to Trish. We just kind of mentioned it. This looks intriguing. For me, I knew how Trish fit into this. I knew that, because they were looking for teachers, they were looking for counselors, they were looking for house parents, dorm parents, and then they were looking for maintenance guys. Not, definitely in my skill set, construction.
It was in your skill set.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was, and it is very much so. But it isn't what I went to college for.
Sure.
I would be willing to do that if that's what God wanted me to do, but I wasn't jumping up and down
Right.
about it. So then continued to talk to him, and he asked if we would meet with him and his wife over Zoom. So this was the first part of January. So we scheduled that, spent a couple hours visiting with them over Zoom, and they talked more about what the mission was about, the school, and so forth, and still not sure what I'm gonna do.
Sure.
But we applied anyways. So filled out all the paperwork and sent it to them, and then we went on the mission trip. So moving forward into first part of March, we took, there ended up being 6 of us, 3 staff members from Summit, myself included, and 3 students. We drove to Sholo, Arizona to the mission, and it was incredible. I just really felt God working in my heart. This is where I needed to be. Still did not know how I would serve there. Still willing to do maintenance, and talked to Jeff quite a bit about it. Still, he wasn't sure either. He was feeling you belong here as well. I went there, and I don't believe anybody there except for Jeff knew who I was in regards, to the application. They knew people had applied, but didn't know who I was. So that, I really feel that was useful, that I could see the place without people
Seeing you as an applicant.
seeing me as an applicant.
Yeah.
And I did get to talk to, the idea was to work in the classrooms with the kids and get to know the kids. I wanted to be around the kids, the students there. And I was able to work one day of the week there in the classroom. And then in conversation with Zach, their operations manager, found out my construction background. And so they asked me to do some construction there on the facility, and it was fun. Had a great shop and got to work with the director of maintenance. And in that time, he said to me, "Man, it'd be great if you could come to work here. I'd love to have you." And that opened the door. I was like, well, matter of fact, I had applied here. We are applicants, but again, I'm not sure this is what we're supposed to do.
Sure.
And he prayed with me, that God would open the right door, and that this would be the right place, if it is or not. And So, yeah, I came home, still not sure how I would fit in, but I knew it was someplace I was supposed to go.
Meanwhile, I'm home during that time, and he is sending pictures and we have our daily conversations, and he's like, "You're gonna love it here. You will love it here. This is like, it's in the mountains, which is where I'm."
Yeah, we've
It's
talked.
my heart,
we've
I
talked a little bit
love.
about
It's
that.
it's my heart. So, but he just was very excited about it, and he just kept saying, "This is like, basically, this is a place for you." And so, I have been just intrigued and excited from the beginning, and we had other things that we were talking about, looking about, but this seems to be the one that just kept bubbling to the top, and just like, this is hard to not be excited. I didn't want to be overly excited because we didn't know what opportunities would be for Aaron, and so I was battling don't want to be too married to it, but man, it would be awesome if it worked out. So
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so 3 weeks after we returned from the mission trip, now it's first part of April, and we had scheduled a trip for her and I to go back down to spend a couple days hanging out with the kids and meeting the staff and spending time in the community. So we roll in there late Wednesday night into Sholo, went to the mission first thing in the morning, had breakfast with the kids and got to play basketball with them and hang out, and then we went to talk to Jeff. And in that conversation, he asked me specifically how I was feeling about things and so forth, and I said, I definitely feel like I need to be here, but I don't know how.
Right.
and before this, I want to say, Aaron traveled a lot, and so we have an amazing life group that we're a part of, that they have prayed through so many things with us, and like, there were a few weeks where he wasn't able to go, and they were always going, so give us the update, what's going on, and like tearfully praying, like, I just pray for, we know where my place would be in this, but it's very unclear. And Aaron has really wanted to not continue with construction and stuff, and it was hard for him to say, if you're going to be maintenance, albeit he was willing to be obedient, but it was begrudgingly, could I say?
Yeah.
And then
that
like,
was,
that's but it
I
was
really felt God released me from my life in construction. When I went into committed to do ministry, it's like, you don't have to do that anymore, and I felt really good about it.
But one of the things our life group had been talking about is be bold in your prayer and ask for,
be specific.
specifically, what you're praying for, and that was like leading up into I think it was the week that he was on the mission trip that I just said, I really want to do this, and I really want to know, like, for it to be clear what Aaron's ministry is going to be, because he wanted to do ministry, not just maintenance.
And so the majority of the classes, the electives that I took at Summit were focused on family ministry, and that's what I really wanted to do, was work with families. Going into college, didn't know how. That was how I would do that, and that was one of those conversations that I had with Dave about missions. How does family ministry look in missions?
Sure.
And so we're there having this conversation with Jeff now, and I said I would be willing to be on the maintenance team, because I really feel this is where God wants us. And at that point, Jeff said, well, we'll take you if that's what you want to do, if you want to be on the maintenance team, but we really are looking for someone to do family ministry with the families.
Bing.
Bing.
That's amazing.
That's exactly what it was, John. Trish was sitting here, Jeff was there, and we just turned and looked, and
I just
it
kept
was like,
looking, I'm like, did you see the prayer just like right in front of us
yeah,
being
really see God
answered?
answering a prayer live, you know,
Yeah.
so right there in
Yeah.
real time.
Mhm.
And it's like, yeah, yeah, that's what, I said, yeah, that's what we've been praying for. And, you know, and he laid it out, and it's what been praying for and hoping for.
Okay.
So
we're going to take a second. We're just going to pause for a second. All right, back with Aaron and Trish. So you guys we're like in May. We've made the decision. May, June, made the decision.
Yep.
Going down there. So what? So it's now end of July. You guys are leaving this week.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about what you're going to be doing while you're there. What is WestWay supporting financially? Like what's the work that you guys are going to be doing there, and
Okay.
why does it matter?
Well, I think we need to understand what the mission is, what
Yeah,
the American
great.
Christian mission is. So, Trish.
So we're going to be dorm parents with the girls.
There's boys and girls
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
About how many students?
So we will have 8 girls in our dorm. Originally it was going to be middle school, high school age, the teenage girls.
Mhm.
They've had a lot of elementary age applicants, and so we might have a combination, but it will be girls. And so since it's girls, that'll be my primary
Mhm.
responsibility. There'll be the morning getting up time and the bedtime stuff. Aaron, as a male, will not be involved in those
Yeah.
parts. And then I will also be discipling and doing Bible, like a Bible study devotional with them, and that will be primarily my responsibility. All of these girls come, so it's a boarding school.
Okay.
It's in Shola, Arizona. It's just outside of the Fort Apache Reservation. So we will work primarily with the Apache tribe. There are some Navajo students, but they're generally not living in the dorm.
Mhm.
So we will have them Sunday evening. We go to the reservation, get them, and bring them back to the
To
campus.
school, yep.
And they're with us all week. And then they go Friday, have classes in the morning, lunch, and then we take them back to be with their families on the weekend. It's very important that they're with their families too.
Sure.
And it's not, it's an option for them. Their families apply and want them to be there. We're not on the reservation, and we're not removing them from their home. This is a family choice that they come and be with us.
Sure.
So
So Monday to
All
Friday,
Monday-
basically, you guys are it's just like they're probably during the school year, they're going to school.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's just like,
Yep.
Yep.
you are family parents. It's just,
Yeah.
you just have a
Yep, we are.
family and it
So-
just happens to be eight
Yep.
8 girls.
So
And
the
all of them come from, they have some form of abuse that they're enduring. And so it's typically a grandmother that is raising them and has a connection with the church or with the mission.
Okay.
And they have wanted their children to go so that they're safe.
Okay.
And that's a primary thing, that they want their child safe. And so we have 3 main things that we're focused on with them. Like immediately is safety. They have a safe place to sleep, their regular meals, they're loved, and so that's a big part of it. The second one is education. They come 2 to 3 years behind in grade levels on average. They have small classes, and so they get a lot of one-on-one, small groups, and work really hard to get them up to grade level. And the hope is that they will see a hope in education, and that they have the opportunity to do something different. So when they're
Break
through
break
school,
the poverty cycle.
yeah, they have
So.
options besides just continuing that poverty cycle, and giving them some marketable skills. And through all of this, and the biggest, most important, is that they meet Jesus,
Yeah.
and that they decide to commit their life to Jesus and live saved.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's where we as a couple are
You just-
doing
yeah.
a model of a Christian family.
Yeah.
A nuclear, like a Christian mom, Christian dad. We pray with them, we love them, we lovingly discipline them. They use the love and logic model of just dealing
Yeah, so
with
everybody's
issues.
consistent through the whole
Sure.
organization with them.
And that we want them to see Jesus in our daily lives. And so
Well, I mean, that's just like basic. You talked about family ministry.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've had a few conversations about family ministry.
Yeah.
You've heard a few things about family
Yeah.
ministry here at WestWay Christian Church. And I mean, it sounds like, I'll just really simply put, like, you're just being Christians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're
Yep.
doing,
That's
you're
exactly
doing the
right.
things that Christians do.
Yep.
By, I mean, the words that we always use, those Westway people who are watching this, like, you can probably repeat after me, just loving, honoring, serving people,
Yeah.
serving the girls that are going to be in your house, and just demonstrating what it looks like to be a faithful follower of Christ.
Yep.
And if they do, we want all of them to commit their lives to
Sure,
Christ.
yeah.
And I really, really love that when a girl or a boy does that, they're baptized, and they immediately put them in a discipling one-on-one relationship. And they really, really model how to grow somebody up in Christ. It's not just, oh, great, all right, you're on your own.
Right,
You're
right.
good to go. So.
Right.
So my role in this, obviously, is to support her, to be a Christian father to these girls, but I will get to work with families of all these kids that come to the school. So all of them. So I will work with them on the reservation, doing Bible studies, discipling, former students and other people that that need it, and desire that continued relationship with Christ. Pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
And then also, there's a lot of things that has to happen, a lot of paperwork and so forth, so I'll be a liaison between the students and the families, for the school, between all three.
Sure.
And working with the tribe itself, tribal leadership, the elders of the tribe. They have bi-weekly meetings that I'll be attending, and then the administration side. There's a lot of stuff there. The mission has a great relationship with the tribe, and just work to maintain that. A lot of trust there. There is there now, and just work to maintain that.
Yeah.
So
I think for us as a church, us as Westway Christian Church, a crucial part of our mission, vision, values, and preferred culture is being intergenerational, and really holding up and supporting families as the primary disciple makers of children.
Yeah.
And that sounds really wonderful and great when mom and dad are Christians, and it sounds really difficult and challenging when mom and dad aren't Christians. So one of the things that attracted us and really made it a simple or simpler decision about whether or not we were going to support Aaron and Trish as a church is the equipping families piece of this puzzle. It's interesting, like, so my student and family ministry background was kind of the reverse of what you guys are going to be doing. I remember when I was in student ministries, at best, if kids came to, kind of just thinking through the different models of ministry that I've been in my life. So if kids came to Sunday school, kids came to church, kids came to youth group, like whatever that interaction was with the church, we would maybe have, like, in a perfect world, we would have 4, maybe 6 hours a week with kids, and then the other 162 hours of the week they were at families.
Yeah.
They were at home, and for the families that were, mom and dad were Christians, like, that was a pretty good deal. Still a challenge, but still a pretty good deal. But for parents and families who weren't Christians, like, I began to feel this inner turmoil in myself of, man, we can have these kids for 4 to 6 hours a week, and like, they can be good Christian kids during those 4 to 6 hours, but then they're going home to lots of situations that are very dysfunctional, and in some cases we're anti-Christian, and I don't mean that like in a culture war way, but like very anti-Christian home life, and that began to press on me, like, okay, well, how can we make sure that we're equipping those parents and families, and how can we make disciples of those parents and families, so that the church is not necessarily doing all of the heavy lifting in the discipleship process, but we're equipping parents to do that. Well, for you guys, it's the hours aren't going to match up, but you're going to have a lot more time with those kids.
Yep.
So then that part, Aaron, of what you're going to be doing, working with parents and families on the back end, so that when those kids go home to the real parents over the weekend, you are going to be teaching and equipping and discipling them to be able to hopefully not just enforce what you guys are doing throughout the week, but try and flip that so that you can ultimately be a support for what's happening in the home.
Yeah.
And in order to make that happen, you're going to be making disciples of parents. And again, like, as we've been kind of thinking through this whole process, that's why this did make it a pretty easy decision of how we were going to be supportive of this, because it's right in our wheelhouse. And as a church, we're looking for ministry partners, and we want the ministries that we support to align with our culture as a church, and with who we are. So other than finances, which is just a portion of it, how can WestWay be supportive of you? What can we be doing with you and for you in this?
For us personally, Tricia and I, the most important thing and the greatest thing that anybody can do is pray for us. The spiritual warfare that takes place, the attack is very real from Satan there. The kids are under attack constantly. They go home, grandma might be a Christian, but chances are lots of others that are living in the house are not. The culture is very dark, with the shamanism, for the healing and so forth, the witch doctors, they're medicine men, but essentially, witch doctors, and so they're under attack. Satan is working on them constantly. So prayers for the kids and us, to know how to minister to these kids, for us not to grow weary through this, and then the kids, and then the other staff that's there as well, because they're all, not just the house parents, but everybody from the teachers to custodial staff, cooks, everybody that works there. So prayers
Okay.
is huge. One of the other things that I will be doing for opportunities for WestWay, I'll be heading up what they call the Blue Bus Ministry. So what it is, it's a VBS program that takes place in the summers. So they've taken old school buses that have been donated and painted them blue, and they go around the reservation in different places. Sometimes it's for a week and do a week-long VBS. They'll use the school bus to go pick the kids up and bring them back to a central meeting place. Other times they will go to one of the outlying communities. Might just be a house in the rural setting. Will be 3 or 4 families there and do a half-day VBS with them, and they do up to 90 of these in the summertime.
Wow.
So summers are busy, so they have that requires volunteers, teams to come in. So they have lots of opportunities for in the summertime for teams to come down and do VBS. So I'll be coordinating that. I won't actually be doing them, obviously. It's way too many, but I'll be making arrangements with the families and the churches and getting the information to the people that do the.
So then there's
bus.
opportunities for us as a church to go and participate in
that. There's
we come from a church, that we were a part of, that their youth group does ministry, and so I just want to put it out there that it's great. It's a multicultural. I mean, and being on the reservation is very different from being in Scottsbluff or any other city. It's definitely a different culture, but it's a great opportunity for youth, but for families. I know that we have friends that they've done their family for years would go every spring break. They would go to Mexico to a mission trip. So if that's something that you've been praying about, but also Bible life groups, cell groups,
Small groups,
to
all
do
those.
small groups
Yep.
to take a week and do a ministry. It's not just something that you have to do church-wide.
Sure.
It could be
So those opportunities there, serving at the mission, it isn't just VBS. So a lot of, one of our students that went this last summer, he wanted to dig. Wanted to go, well, I'll throw him out there, Joe. And Joe really wanted to do some physical work. And so that was one of the things that God used there. We need someone to dig a ditch, and he was so happy he got to spend a couple days digging. So there's opportunities for those. The service trips there at the mission, they can do that there. Plenty of work to do there. And then they also will do trips where you go onto the reservation and help families, with their physical needs there of fixing houses and those sorts of things. So there's working on a church that needs it, those kind of things. So there's lots of opportunities to serve in different ways, and not just in the summertime. When school's in, there's opportunities to work in the school alongside the kids, sit at the desk with them and work one-on-one doing math or reading or those kind of things, and tutoring in the afternoons and stuff. So lots of opportunities for
and then just
different ways.
at lunch, play basketball with them or just hang with them and
Love on them.
So it's a pretty amazing place.
Yeah.
So lots of opportunity for support and doing things and being in relationship. And relationships just matter. I like that Joe said I want to do some physical work. I remember the first time I went on on a mission trip to San Luis Potosi. We went down and we helped with VBS. And I kind of through the first week, I had done other mission trips also in Mexico, but they were all physical labor.
Yeah.
And it was like you go down at the beginning of the trip and you put a roof on a church, or you pour a basketball court, or you do this thing, and like it's very tangible.
Yep.
Right. And I have this sense of accomplishment because when I got here, there was no roof on the church, and then when I'm leaving, there is a roof on the church, and I accomplished something. And I remember on that first trip, about halfway through the week, like I just wondered, like, what are we even accomplishing? Like, what are we even doing?
Yeah.
And then I realized that building relationships with people is ministry.
Yeah.
And it's so different. It's so intangible. And I've had the opportunity to return to that same place. It's been a long time. It's been over 10 years since I've been back to this place in Mexico. But over the next probably 12 years, I had the opportunity to return there. I want to say I think 8 times.
Wow, that's great.
And what I saw was the benefit of that long-term relationship building. Because I would see the same kids at VBS year after year, and then I would see them getting involved in the church. Like it was just a different kind of thing. So for us as a church, as we think about the way that we support our missions, it's not only finances. Finances matter, but we don't want to just send money to the missions that we support. We want to actually be engaged with the missions that we support in real, tangible ways, so that we're involved in what's taking place, so that we can be a part of what's happening. And another thing that excites me about working with this mission is the opportunities that we're going to have to actually be a part of it. I overheard Dave Parrish. Dave Parrish gets everybody. He was in Pastor Joe's office the other day, and they were kind of talking about missions. And I kind of think about like our map here. There's a reason that I wanted to sit here. Some of the places that we support are overseas, and not everyone can go to South Africa. Not everyone can go to Tanzania. Not everyone can go to Myanmar. Like these are really big world places.
But everyone can go to Arizona.
But see, there you go. Everyone. But that's part of our mission strategy, is to not just have places around the world, but have places more local.
I do want to say though, in the summertime when people are most available to go do a trip, we are not in Phoenix. We're in the mountains, and it's been cooler there than it is here right now. They're like
20
usually,
degrees.
Okay.
usually mid 80s to upper 80s. So it's a great place to be in the summer.
Sure.
So.
Well, what we'll do, we'll have as we get, we have some information about you, like you personally might want to support what Aaron and Trish are doing. So we'll have the address information and all of that kind of thing. We'll put that in the show notes here, in the comment section. But also, like with any supported mission of WestWay Christian Church, a portion of every dollar that you give goes to support all of our missions, and then each one of our missions gets a cut of that, gets a percentage of that total amount. So anything you give to WestWay Christian Church is going to make it to supporting their mission. But we know that you might want to support them on your own, and we encourage you to do that. There are missions and ministries that Ann and I support that are separate from WestWay Christian Church. So we do that. We'll provide you the opportunity to be able to do that. And lastly, I just want to draw your attention to every week we send out an email, and at the bottom of that email we list all of the missions that we support, and we have clickable links to like their social media pages, so to their Facebook page and their Instagram page and all of that kind of thing. Over the next few weeks, as we kind of get geared up as a church to be financially supporting them, you'll see Aaron and Trish added to that. And I just want to encourage you to take a look at what your missionaries are doing here in the United States and around the world. And we live in a social media world, and that's just the best way. And they're going to give us updates. They're going to let us know what's going on. But the best thing that you can do is click on those links, and because those organizations stay updated. They know how the world works to accurately portray what's taking place in their ministries and in their missions on a some of those organizations are daily updates, some of them are weekly, but that really is the best way to stay in touch with what's happening with the missions that you support. So we're excited that you guys. I'm not excited that you're leaving. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not excited that you're leaving. But I think we talked about this a few years ago when Mike Andrews, who was our pastor of family ministries, left to go be a lead pastor. Like we talked about gospel goodbyes, and sometimes gospel goodbyes are really hard. But we know, like, our job ultimately as a church is to send people. And sometimes that looks like sending people out of this building on Sunday morning into Scottsbluff and Gearing and Mitchell and Baird and all of the other surrounding communities. And sometimes sending people means they go somewhere else. But they're gospel goodbyes because it's what we're all called to do. We're all called to send and to be sent. And I'm bummed that you're leaving, but it's a gospel goodbye. And this is why we exist as a church, is to send people to go and proclaim the gospel. And then as a church, we get to be a part of what's happening in supporting them financially, but also supporting them like by being a resource for you.
And we definitely appreciate everything you guys are doing and have done and will do.
Well, thanks for watching this today. We look forward to hearing more from Aaron and Trish. I told them this past Sunday that one of our goals here is every summer. I think we're just going to start calling it a summer of missions. Every summer, we've done this several times, and we have a few more missions coming up. During the summer, we want to encourage the missionaries that we support as they're able to come to WestWay and just share updates, and that looks like lots of different things. So we want to do this more often. So not only can you follow along with what's happening with them in our weekly email and on their different social media stuff, but we'll have Aaron and Trish back next summer, and hopefully we'll have a trip in the works.
I hope so.
That's what I hope.
So thanks for watching. Love you guys. Appreciate everything that you do as a church to be supportive of those who we are sending. So thanks.